Rev up your engines!
Toyota Altima says, hey Scotty, does cold weather reduce mile per gallon? Yes, it does. And here's why. Cold air requires more energy to burn. You gotta heat the stuff up. On top of that, it's cold outside. What happens when metal gets cold? It shrinks, and you often get more friction. The oil gets thicker. Thicker oil has more friction. Batteries don't work as well in the cold, so the alternator has to work harder to recharge the battery. And all these things in conjunction, you're going to get worse gas mileage in the winter than you get in the summer. If you live in a place that gets cold, I suppose in Hawaii it makes no difference. If it's 72 degrees all year round, it ain't going to make any difference. And the other thing, of course, that would really reduce your gas mileage was, let's say you went skiing up in the mountains in the Rockies in Colorado. Well, then it's cold and you're at a high altitude, so you'll get worse gas mileage too, because the air's thinner up there. So what you want to do is stay at sea level in a warm climate, like Hawaii. Maybe we should all move to Hawaii. Green effect, so we get better gas mileage. Taha Katabi says, Scotty, what are your thoughts on a 2007 to 2012 Nissan Altima 3.5 with a 6-speed standard transmission? I got a customer with one. Now, here's the thing. The standard transmissions, they're pretty bulletproof. They're very good. They have good acceleration. They last a really long time. And it is the 3.5. On the Altimas, the worst ones they make these days are the 4-cylinder ones. Notorious for blowing head gaskets or automatic transmission are crap. It's a V6. It's a standard transmission. It could be a very good car. Guys that get standard transmissions have a tendency of ragging them really hard. Could be all worn out. So if you are thinking about buying that car, take it to a mechanic like me, have it gone through with a fine-tooth comb. I know people are going to say, oh, Scotty, you're a hypocrite. Just don't buy Nissans, la la. But that particular Nissan with a V6 and a standard transmission could be a decent car. Just have it checked out very close. They have a tendency of driving like maniacs, and it could be the thing's just all worn out. If not, mechanic says it's okay, it could be a decent car. Just don't pay much because they have very low resale values. You could take advantage of that. Christian P. wants us, I got a 2014 Ford Explorer, 85,000 miles, has an extended warranty with a Cadillac dealership I bought it from. Boy, that's a weird one. I give you an extended warranty at a Cadillac dealer for a Ford. Now, the manual says change the fluid every 150,000 miles in the transmission. Should I change it before or earlier? And it also shakes and rumbles. Let's deal with the transmission first. Yeah. I don't care what they say. I would change that thing now, and I change it every 80,000 miles at least, maybe every 50,000 miles. Their weaker transmission fluid is cheap. Use the original factory fluid and change it. No, as for rumbling in the back, take it in if you got a warranty and say, hey, this baby's rumbling. There's something going on here. You got a warranty, take it in. I mean, you can get rumbling from all kinds of stuff. It could be wheel bearings are worn out. Take it in under the warranty. Now, the thing about it is, if it's a deal where you got to take it back to the Cadillac dealer, those guys are no experts on those cars. They might not know what goes on. See if you can take it to the Ford dealer under the warranty, because usually the warranties, you can take it to anybody who's accredited mechanic. So if you can, at least take it to a Ford dealer. I Love Dogs and Cats says, which would be less problematic in the long run, a Nissan Titan XD with a Cummins diesel or Dodge Ram with a Cummins diesel? I would say Nissan Titan XD by far. The Cummins engines are Cummins engines. They're made by Cummins, so, you know, Chrysler doesn't make theirs and Nissan doesn't make theirs. They are very good engines. But the Nissans overall are much better vehicles than the Dodges are when you're talking about the Nissan trucks. The trucks are pretty heavy duty made. They're not like the cars. I do have to say that most of my customers that bought Nissan pickup trucks were much happier than the customers who bought Nissan cars. If I was going to buy a truck, I'd get a Toyota or a Ford, probably myself. But I do have customers with those Nissan Titans, and they're relatively happy with them. I'm not a big fan myself, but they're tons better than the Rams, especially in terms of the electronics. Jerry Lawfer once says, Scotty, my friend, is a 95 Camry Reagan. While driving on the freeway, it randomly starts shaking. Go for a ride and try to figure out what this so-called random shaking is. There's almost always a reason behind shaking. And on an old Camry, the main reason is the struts are worn. They don't use shock absorbers. Those have 4-wheel struts, McPherson struts. They work like shock absorbers, but they're called McPherson struts. As they wear, when you're driving on a road, it goes okay if it's smooth, but if there's bumps and cornering, start shaking. And then when the road smooths out, they stop shaking. That's what 90-something% of the time is a problem in a vehicle like that, when it randomly shakes. You're just driving down a road on a flat plane. I once drove Alberta in Canada. I was going from Toronto to Vancouver on a Trans-Canada highway. And they had a stretch of road that must have been 100-something miles, straight and flat before you got to the mountains. I was so bored I drove on the other side of the highway and there wasn't anybody coming then. Now, if you're going on a flat road like that and every once in a while it randomly starts shuddering, you're not hitting bumps or corners or anything, that means the transmission's probably going out. Because if a transmission is going out, it can start shuddering. That's transmission shudder. So if it does it on a flat road, just going along, you're not hitting any bumps, then the transmission's going. And they do go out on any car when they get old enough. But see if it happens when it happens with bumps. That's a much more common problem. Billie Jean 10 says, Scotty, my son is an '06 Scion. 150,000 miles. He had the PO420 code, so he had the catalytic converter replaced but didn't fix it. Help. PO420, yeah, inefficient catalytic converter, but the catalytic converter can be inefficient. It's a generic code. Anytime you got a PO code, those are what are called generic codes, which means there are lots of things that can cause that. In the case of that inefficient catalytic converter, there's over a dozen different things that can cause that. If the engine's running lean, or if it's running rich, if you got a leak in fuel injector, if the engine's burning oil, there's a lot of reasons that can do that. But from my experience, with the Scion, that's that years, 14 years old, 150,000 miles, I would change the oxygen sensors next because they give the reading. And if the cat was really worn out, they could be bad because they get damaged too. So I would change the oxygen sensors. There's one before the cat and there's one after the cat on a 4-cylinder Scion. Change them both, and that could solve your problem. Now, if it doesn't, you're going to have to go to a mechanic. It's going to get really complicated. But a lot of times you change them too. I kind of advise people, if you got a simple car like that, it's got 2 oxygen sensors in the cat, change all 3 things at once so you don't worry about it. Just like I tell people, if your alternator went out and your battery's 5 years old, change the battery and the alternator. Just don't change the alternator because the battery's probably weak too. Better to change them all when you're changing an expensive part. Joe Gray 7666 says, Scotty, I got a 2000 Buick LeSabre. There's a clunking noise every time I turn right. Could it be the CV axle? Well, sure, it could be lots of things. Generally on those, the CV axles are real easy to tell because when they go bad, at least 99% of the time, if you look under the car, the CV axle is one on the left side, one on the right side. On the inside, there's rubber boots on the inner CV joints. On the outside, there's rubber boots on the outer CV joints. Jack it up and look at them. If the boots are ripped and the grease is leaking out, those are the ones that are bad. That's a very simple way to test it. Now, yeah, they could wear out if it's real high mileage or if you get in a wreck and something gets bent, but if the car hasn't been wrecked, just look. And if you see the boots ripped, yeah. And do what I do. Don't even waste your time trying to replace the CV joint itself. You can buy entire axles. And yes, they are made in China, but they're well made. I've bought hundreds of them and I never had one go bad. Replace the whole thing, because if you can get the whole assembly for $59, $69, why would you want to buy a joint? And the joint could cost $180. You got to take it apart and fix it this way. You just replace the whole assembly. So do that if you see it's ripped. Josh G24 says, Scotty, got an '07 Corolla, needs a new key. I want to get OEM because I've had bad experience getting eBay keys. And I don't want to pay the dealer because they charge so much, but I don't know if I trust these locksmiths. It's a Toyota that's a '07. It's got a pretty simple key system. They've been out for ages. What I would do is do a little research on Amazon. Yeah, I'd stay away from eBay, but do a little research on Amazon. See who has good ones. Because I did that for my son, and it cost me like $15. Now, I don't do it because I'm not a bonded locksmith, and I don't work at a dealership. The guy that I used, he came over with his wife in his little van, and he charged $45 to program the key so it worked on his car. Do that. You don't need to go to the dealer. Yeah, I stay away from eBay too because you don't know, but Amazon, it's a lot better. Read the reviews of those sellers, and that's a very simple key. It's not like you got a key that's going in a Toyota Prius that can cost a fortune and also a fortune to program. Pretty simple immobilizer, and that. Get one from Amazon and then find a local locksmith who does it. Now, if the car still runs, even better, because then you could drive to the locksmith and you're going to pay even less. If it doesn't, tell the guy you didn't program it right. And either don't pay him or have him do it until he fixes it right. Nothing wrong with that, because, I mean, you go to the dealer, generally it's going to be over $200 there. I'm at 9903 says, I got a new used car. Tires have those weird lock bolts. Previous owner didn't have the key. What am I going to do? Watch one of my recent videos. There's a company out there, and strangely enough, it's from Houston, Texas, where I am. It's called Rocket Socket. It fits a whole bunch of different of those lockers. It's a reversal flip socket. And all you got to do is have an extension bar. If you don't have them, go to AutoZone, buy the extension bar. And those sockets fit on the extension bar. You place the socket in the extension bar over that wheel lock, and you find which flip then fits in best. Then you get a big old hammer, and I whack it a few times as I pull it a little. That locks it in place. Then when you pull on that bar, it comes right off. Now there's a zillion companies that make those things for removing them, but this rocket socket one is the best one that I ever found. Now if you don't want to wait to order one, I know they sell them on Amazon, you can go to AutoZone and they sell different brands. They don't work quite as well, but they got different brands and they can sell you one at the store that'll fit on. Buy that and go that route. They aren't that hard to get out when you get a good tool. If you get a cheap tool, it'll slip and it'll drive you nuts. That's why I say use this rocket socket, because they got real nice groove teeth. When you hit it and pull it, bite in, and then you can get them right off. And then you can just throw them away and get regular nuts or bolts, or if you're worried about being them stolen, you can just go to AutoZone and get a new set where you get screw in, but you also get the key that fits in them, and just don't lose the key. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.